Good evening. That was wonderful. So erudite and so young. I swear, I'm not going to be better. I'm just doing the same thing that's happened before with an accent. So I'm hoping that goes well for me, to be honest. Thank you. So my name's Mr. Dobbins. It's a beautiful Saturday evening. You can call me Jordan, unless you're a student. You call me Mr. Dobbins still. Or I had a student come up to me today and went, I was thinking Mr. Dobbins sounds good, but how about J Dizzle? No, is the answer. So I guess as good a place as any to start is to kind of answer the question, why on earth is a Brit such as me stood on a stage here in Southern California, the land where beautiful people drink LaCroix? I am neither a beautiful person nor do I like LaCroix, and I have a sneaking suspicion that none of you like LaCroix. Stop bringing it out at dinner parties, please. Please. I'm your cousin from the motherland. Please believe me, dear me. Oh, dear me. Anyway, I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back before I came over here, before I even knew what LaCroix was. So I was living in East Oxford, and there's this beautiful little nature reserve near East Oxford called Aston's Eot. Now, an Eot, if you love an Eot is such a beautiful little Middle English word. It means something like an island. This nature reserve, though, it's not an island. It's no longer owned by Aston. It used to be like a rubbish dump in the early 20th century, and they've reclaimed it. They've made it into a nature reserve, and now like old academics shuffle around the greenery, and you kind of see them through the hedges and things like that. And in the midst of COVID lockdown, I would take my daily constitutional here, and I would walk around. Constitutional, there's an interesting word. It means a walk. It's a walk. I went for a walk. Or a hike. A hike. Does that make sense now? Is that good? Okay, good. I went for a hike in Aston's Yacht. And as I was hiking around Aston's Yacht, I would think my thoughts and I would pray my prayers. And one of the thoughts that I would think went a little something like this. You know, I'd walked along the well-trodden paths of the British education system. I had the pieces of paper to prove it, but I really didn't feel educated in the way that those pieces of paper suggested that I might be. I think I was beginning to parse out the difference between acquiring knowledge, and I'd acquired a lot of knowledge, and learning to think well. Somehow, at some point over the last decade or so, I'd come to treat the brain and the academic endeavor in general as a plaything. And that outlook had led to a deep-seated utilitarianism, masquerading as honest curiosity. I'd come to ignore the fact that Christ requires all of us, including the mind. You can't leave the brain to the birds. That's not what the Christian walk is. Now, to cut a long story horrifically short, over these months I began to think long and hard about what education should be, what it could be, and how I might be involved in helping teenagers not have to walk down that same path that I'd walked down. And let me tell you something. I've had multiple conversations with all sorts of people who've had the same experience as me, and I know it's a thing that the next generation is going to have to go through. It was in COVID. I don't remember COVID. We did. I guess it's, still a thing. But in the midst of COVID, you kind of do weird things out of boredom, and I didn't quite know. I was thinking these thoughts, and I had a good friend of mine who actually went to Vanguard. He's from the area, and he went, "There's this school," and I thought, I mean, I might as well send an email. There's nothing wrong with an email. So I sent an email, and I had a Zoom call with the upper half of Reverend Chris Stratton, and it was. I tell you, when I finally saw him, his legs are long. His legs are long. They're beautiful legs, though. They really are. They are, yes. Yes, more of that. Basically, I had this conversation. I thought, this sounds wonderful. And then I had more Zoom calls, and I had Zoom interviews and taught Zoom lessons, and then I took a trip to an embassy, and then I got a visa eventually, and I tested negative for COVID to get over here, all this kind of stuff. And I ended up here. Before I get to ending up here, I think it's probably worth describing a little bit how I felt in September. I was on a plane. I hate planes. They're the worst. I was in a tin can going 500 miles an hour. I don't care how much you tell me it works. Do you hear the noise it makes when it takes off? It rattles like a plastic bottle. It's awful. I was in an airplane. I was leaving Queen and Country behind me, all my friends, all my family. And I'm getting ever closer to a place where I'm going to have to wear sun cream every day of my life, where I'm going to have to, earthquakes can shake you to death. You know earthquakes happen here? That's the thing. That's the thing. Earthquakes can happen. And I was just thinking, what on earth have I done? What am I doing? And I just had this desperate feeling of hope. I was like, it reminded me a little bit of Alex when I resonated with that so much. I just had a desperate hope that Pacifica were who they said they were and that they had the answers that they suggested that they had. It's my wonderful pleasure to inform you that I can 100% say they are who they say they are. Or I might say we are who we say we are. I can say that now. I'm on the inside. I'm in the inner circle. We are who we say we are. Use your pronouns correctly. There we go. Thank you. We are who we say we are. And much more than that, there's something incredibly simple at the heart of what Pacifica offers. That reading all these books about Christian education, you can go down all sorts of rabbit holes when it comes to books, but something that I've seen over the past year, and if I was to put it into a few words, it would sound something like this. Pacifica trusts their faculty. In the midst of a world which favors increasingly bureaucratic modes of teaching, this is more countercultural than you might expect. Let me explain what I mean by telling you a little bit about my experience here over the last year at Pacifica. Pacifica is, in John Senior's words, a faculty of friends who love the truth. When I go down the pub and have a pint of Guinness with my friends in the faculty, we're speaking about exactly the same stuff that we speak about in earshot of students. We're not having to pretend we're someone else. These faculty are friends that I deeply respect, that I love, and that I trust. And the way that Pacifica is set up, they're set up to let that trust speak. They're put in places where they can actually do the work that we're put there to do. That's what we're told our job is. I've seen students at Pacifica watch teachers talk with one another excitedly about calculus or Dante or scholasticism or Steinbeck or truth or morality or language or any other number of worthy subjects. And they see us talk about them as if it's a kind of deep and true worship. And they have the opportunity to join in that worship as well. We don't beg them to join us. They want to join in themselves. And I'm no idealist. Some of them don't want to join in yet. And that's fine. Because a lot of what we talk about in the faculty is that there will be a time when they look back and they see something, they remember something of the way that we were, the way that we thought. It's a weighty responsibility. I'm really aware of that. In fact, sometimes there are days where I wish it was a little bit more bureaucratic and I could almost check out. You're there day in, day out. But that's the reality of what we're doing. And, if they join into that, maybe they might avoid some of that existential frustration that I was experiencing over in Aston Zeal. Now, what's central to our success, central to our hope for education, is the broader hope in which it's ensconced. And that's hope in Christ. Pacifica is not trying to, as C.S. Lewis warns us not to, turn the present world from a place of pilgrimage into a permanent city. We know we're nomads. We know we're pilgrims. Our eyes are set on the eternal rest at journey's end, where Christ will know us fully and we will know him. We will see him as he is. As a Christian school, we act like we believe this because we genuinely believe this. Each and every one of us. I can account for that. In short, I have seen at Pacifica that hope in Christian education is infectious, stems from a faculty of friends who love the Lord, who take the pursuit of right thinking and living seriously, who talk freely with one another about truth, who model what good living is, and who are entrusted with the freedom and the weighty responsibility to cultivate life-giving relationships with their students. I'd like to finish by talking a little bit about what our hope is for the students. And I was thinking, how am I going to put this simply? And I think as simply as I can put it is that we hope these students will go on and find friendships similar to the friendships that we have in this faculty. Why is that so important? It's because these friendships will give them the strength and hope to fight against the increasingly shallow and destructive offerings of modern culture by pursuing all that is good in deep and real community. I'll take the applause. I agree. I'm going to applaud as well. Our job here at Pacifica is simple. It's to give them the tools to know those friendships when they see them and the desire to seek them out. I've got a period 3 British literature class. It's lots of fun, except when the stars align, that class falls on the last period on a Friday. And if you know anything about teenagers, it's like the eschaton is coming. How can we possibly talk about poetry on the last period of a Friday? It's just like any other time of day. That's how. I mean, it just is what it is. And the way that they'll normally try and kind of waylay me, and they're more successful than I'd like to admit, is one of the common ways, for example, is they'll get me to say, "Oh, Mr. Dobbins, can you say the word aluminum?" And I'll say aluminium, and they will love that. It's a great time for them, which is great. I'm glad. It seems to entertain them. I thought that would stop after a month. It hasn't. It's gonna. I think the accent is always going to be a thing, which is fine by me. It probably gets me out of trouble. I don't know. But on this day, they found out it was my birthday. Basically, it was near Easter, and so I said, they were like, "Oh, can we, get an invite to your birthday party, Mr. Dobbins?" I was like, "Well, no. I'm not 4. I don't have birthday parties. I have soirees or whatever we do nowadays." And but there was a bit of back and forth. The banter flowed, and eventually I said, "Look, tell you what. I will formally invite you to my 70th birthday party. How's that? If you can find me. And if I'm dead by then you can eat a cake in my memory or something like that. I don't know. We'll see." And basically, it's funny. I just got to thinking about that after I said that in the class. And I thought, wouldn't it be kind of wonderful? What if from now until the time I retired, I just invited all these kids to my 70th birthday party? What if I were to pick a place? I'm going to pick my hometown, Linley. There's a lovely clock tower, and just down from there is a little field. And what if I got a lovely spread? There'd be good beer, there'd be good cheese. And what if I were to pick a time? Just after lunch, probably. After my nap. I guess when you have naps when you're 70, is that a thing? I think it is. I think that's a thing. After my nap. After my nap, that's when they can come and find me. And what if I were to tell them this? And what if after a long career filled with grace upon grace upon grace, even just 1 or 2 ex-students would appear? I believe that I'd see the Lord's faithfulness in their lives. I believe I'd see something of a hope fulfilled. And what would we do? Well, we'd sit down at the table, beer in hand, and we'd do the same thing we did all those years ago. We'd talk about the true things and the beautiful things, and we would hope joyfully together for our final rest in Christ. That is an image of hope which resonates with who Pacifica is. And you know what? It's one of the weird things about being a high school teacher is I'm probably not going to get to see that hope, but that's exactly what hope is. Hope is in something we might not see, but one day we will see it. One day we will. And that's why we call it hope. And so all the time we are praying, may it be so. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome to the stage the Bloom Choir. It's going to be wonderful.